essentially, right? Like we think we're going to do these things, but we maybe don't have some of the other fundamentals in place, like you were talking about with the regular activity, with nutrition, with what we're going to talk about today is sleep. And it's like pouring a thimble of water on a house fire. You're never going to make a dent in that house fire with a thimble of water. And if you're always playing like the reactive role, we're never getting to the place where it's an offensive move. Welcome to Salad with a Side of Fries. I'm your host, Jenn Trepeck, talking wellness and weight loss for real life. We're here to clear up the myths, misinformation, bad science, and marketing to teach you how to eat and how to cheat. Are you ready? I'm having salad with a side of fries. Hey friend, welcome back to Salad with a Side of Fries. I'm your health coach and host, Jenn Trepeck, always here with you every week for wellness without the weirdness. And joining me today is a new friend for all of you. Well, not new to me, but new to you. Abe, welcome to Salad with a Side of Fries.
Thanks. Good to be here.
Yeah, so maybe we should tell everybody, because you and I first connected through Flavors of New York, which if you guys have seen my YouTube or, videos on Instagram of going into restaurants and eating and chatting, a lot of that's Abe and I together.
That's right. Yeah. I mean, a good excuse to eat, enjoy, meet people all over the boroughs and elsewhere and help them promote themselves across social media and other spaces.
Exactly. And then, by the way, so we met and then found out that our families have like this crazy connection. So the world is just very small,
Definitely.
But I love it. And now you're here.
Crazy.
Surreal. Yeah. So today we're going to talk about what I think is the ultimate biohack. So not to put you on the spot, but what do you think that is?
I mean, are we talking about things like, the infrared saunas, the cold plunges, I'm going to fast or cleanse, there's just so many out there. I can't even keep up, but I want to learn more.
Yeah. So I believe all the ones that you just mentioned are stepping over $100 bills to pick up pennies.
Interesting. Okay.
So what's the $100 bill, right? The ultimate biohack that we're going to talk about today, sleep.
Oh, wow. Did you pick a good guest?
Now, it's interesting because we haven't done a truly dedicated episode on sleep since like 2020. And daylight savings is basically happening. And I feel like with daylight savings, people are always saying, oh, my sleep is so messed up. And then I found out March 15th was World Sleep Day. And so I was like, okay, all signs are pointing to this episode.
Yeah, I think everything points to also sleep just being the baseline for everything. And no matter how much coffee we try to throw on to fake it, there's just no replacement for that reset.
Exactly. Okay, so we're going to talk all about it. Why I think this is the $100 bill everybody is stepping over. But before we get into it, let's tell our members what they're getting this week. So members, I have so many goodies for you. Okay, so members, your recipe is for maple blueberry turkey sausage breakfast patties. I know, I see your face. They're sweet and savory, packed with protein, so you can, change up your breakfast or really any meal, even a snack. These are awesome. And then in connection to today's episode, you're getting 10% off a couple products that can help support both the quality and quantity of your sleep. So more to come on that. And then, since it's March, the last month of the quarter, it's time for your quarterly live Q&A, which a couple of you requested it be a one-on-one again. So that's what we're doing. Your email has all the info for you to select a time that's convenient for you. So if you want the recipe or the discounts or the one-on-one, be sure you're a member. Go to glow.fm/salad with a side of fries. For $10 a month, you get weekly recipes, a monthly article or tool, extra discounts from me and our partners, plus access to live Q&A sessions. It's a total deal when you take advantage of the full offerings. You're saving far more than that $10 cost. This month alone, you're saving the cost of the entire year. So it's a no-brainer way to show yourself that your health is a priority. Plus, being a member supports this podcast and this community so we can continue to bring you new episodes and experts every week. So remember, all you're going to do is go to glow.fm/salad with a side of fries, or just click the link in the show notes because frankly, that's a whole lot easier. Once you're there, you click support now, enter your email and payment info, click subscribe, and you're all set. You'll get this week's recipe for the maple blueberry turkey sausage breakfast patties, 10% off sleep support products, and your quarterly live Q&A, which is a one-on-one just you and me. Okay, so let's talk about some of those biohacks and the things that people are doing. Maybe we should even back up to like, what is a biohack?
Yeah, definitely a good place to start. So we know exactly what we're dealing with.
Yeah, so biohacks is really a term that I think it's become mainstream, but it's really about employing methods, a variety of methods from different, approaches, whether it's from biology, genetics, neuroscience, right? These kinds of things. And the objective is to improve overall health and well-being, right? Or achieve a specific health outcome. But the piece of it that makes it a biohack is that it's supposed to be like the easy button for the thing.
Right. The shortcut.
Right? Exactly. The shortcut. Some people will refer to biohacks as DIY biology or do-it-yourself biology, right? And it's this whole thing. I think it maybe started with like Dave Asprey, because he had a book that was called Smarter, Not Harder, The Biohacker's Guide to Getting the Body and Mind You Want. And so it's like the shortcut to the end result that we're looking for. And then, by the way, there's all of those pieces that you were saying before, right? There's like infrared saunas, there's the ice plunge, there's even supplements are kind of a biohack.
I mean, do you think that a lot of this is, just to kind of understand where it comes from, it would seem to me that this is somewhat born out of body image, social media projecting a certain sort of perfect person, perfect body, and a look out there. And I think if you're somebody that's not that, you hear biohack and you're like, this is it. This is how I get the abs, get the look, lose the weight, whatever it is, or even something like anxiety or any sort of thing that gets thrown around. You're kind of like, oh, here's the fast track to that, so I don't have to do the work. It feels like a dream almost, like not a dream, but like, here's a false promise, or like, take this pill and like you're all set. The shake weight of it all.
Right. The shake weight was real.
Yeah.
Yes and no. Right? Because a lot of these are born out of some really interesting research. Right?
Okay.
And typically they're coming from fact and depending on what it is, right? Biology or neuroscience or some of these kinds of things. And I also want to be clear, like, I'm not against biohacking, like, in some, right? I do a lot in my practice with supplementation.
Right.
Which is, in essence, a type of biohack.
Absolutely. Some of them are for sure effective and when used correctly or maybe employed by the right people in combination with things. But I think the sort of fantasy almost that this one biohack is going to quickly
be
change
the
your
answer.
life. Yeah, and maybe it is if it's something you can adapt and incorporate all the time, not just
but
like,
you're hitting on the crux of my beef, for lack of a better word, with a lot of the biohacks and a lot of the quote unquote experts who are touting a lot of these things.
Yeah.
Right? Because when we see it as the magic bullet, I think the implementation of that is that people say, that's the only thing I need to do. That's what I'm gonna, right? I can do the one thing and then nothing else matters. Like, this is the thing that's gonna undo all the others.
Right.
And that's not exactly the case. I also think a lot of the people, and some of them really are well-renowned experts in health and wellness and biology and, right, in medicine. A lot of them who talk about a lot of these biohacks are talking about what they're doing for themselves, right? And I think the piece that's often missing from that conversation is that their baseline may not be your baseline.
Oh, yeah, 100%. I mean, I kind of think that with everyone out there giving advice, it may be great advice, but certainly my story is different than yours. What works for me is not going to work for you. And that totally would apply here.
Right.
Plus, some folks that are effective with these biohacks might have, tremendous other resources available, a whole staff available to support that biohack and implementing it effectively.
100%. And a lot of them tend to be professional athletes, people who, to your point, have that team, or people whose livelihood depends on their physical body being in a state of absolute peak performance. And so their commitment to some of these things is different than ours. And then I think the expectation that they set up is if we just do that one thing, we're going to have the same outcome.
Yeah.
And not to name names, but it's one of my big pet peeves with Rogan, right? He talks about all these things, but he's in a place in his life and career and resources that a lot of other people, the average person, is not.
Right.
And
it's all about your baseline.
Right.
Any of this stuff. You can't go from, it's like a couch to 5K situation. You can't couch to like absolute peak performance with, you've got to have a compounded version of these biohacks. I also feel like the term is a little bit, you hear biohack and you just assume that whatever it is all encompassing, is accurate, is vetted.
Right.
And it's just, again, like we said, it's going to be case specific, and assuming you're putting in that sleep, which is the first thing you brought up, you're putting in that water, you're putting in that nutrition, at least as a foundation. I can't eat salad once a year. I've got to have it. I've got to get those greens a lot more often if I'm going to try to build there.
Yeah, exactly. And that's the piece, right? That's the piece of it, is like when we employ the biohacks, right? We do the ice plunge, we sit in the infrared sauna, we take an NAD supplement, right? Like we do all of these things without necessarily putting some of the other fundamentals in place.
Wait, can I ask what NAD's supplement is? I didn't get that hack.
Yeah, NAD. So I'm going to do a nugget on NAD.
Okay. All right.
But essentially, it's almost like supplementation to help with cellular energy and healthy cell metabolism. I'll make a note. I'm making a mental note, and I'm going to make a physical note to make sure we do a nutrition nugget on NAD. But essentially, right, like we think we're going to do these things, but we maybe don't have some of the other fundamentals in place, like you were talking about with the regular activity, with nutrition, with what we're going to talk about today is sleep. And it's like pouring a thimble of water on a house fire. You're never going to make a dent in that house fire with a thimble of water. And if you're always playing like the reactive role, we're never getting to the place where it's an offensive move. Does that make sense? I don't know if I'm explaining myself well.
Yeah, no, it does. And while you were talking, I promise I was listening, but I also was thinking about collagen, because I feel like in the last 2 months, I am getting bombarded with collagen ads and collagen information. And it feels like that is where everybody's putting their attention right now in terms of biohack. And I want to be like, I don't really get it or understand it, but I think that could be a good example, because like if, let's say, all the research is beneficial and true and it is effective, but like if you take collagen, but like everything else in your diet sucks,
exactly.
Am I good? Like, is that it?
Right. Right. Well, I always say you can't supplement your way out of poor nutrition.
And supplements in general, right. You could talk
right. And collagen puts in that category. Yeah, exactly. It's fighting an uphill battle all the time.
Right.
It's like going one step forward, 2 steps back over and over and over. Every time we're hyper focusing on these other things instead of focusing on the consistency of these fundamentals.
But some of them feel good though, right? So like, I don't know, the cleanse or the cold plunge or whatever, you might have at least some amount of relief and comfort in, but you're not attacking that source. So what you're
right. Like it
describing.
might help with some of the immediate muscle or mood or energy, but you're probably not going to get much by way of cellular transformation from the ice plunge if we're still feeding ourselves food-like substances and we're sleeping 4 hours a night, you know.
So what is the biohack for cellular transformation, Jenn Trepeck? Are you going to tell us right now?
Well, we're going to talk about sleep as the ultimate biohack, right? Yeah. So to me, there are so many
Can you see the luggage under my eyes, by the way? Can you see the bags?
I don't see what you see, but that's okay.
Thank you.
You know it's there, right?
You're a good friend.
Right. So there are a lot of things that impact our sleep, right? It's stress, it's work, our schedules, our eating patterns, right? All this kind of stuff impacts our sleep. And so sleep is one of those two where there are a lot of health symptoms and challenges that actually, if we remedy our sleep, will remedy themselves. So lack of quality sleep or sufficient sleep, right, in terms of quantity or quality, can show up in a whole host of issues in the body. And so we show up to our healthcare professionals and they want to treat all the symptoms. But the truth is, if we can work on our sleep, a lot of stuff is going to take care of itself.
But there's somewhat of a chicken or egg situation going on there, right? Like, I can't sleep because of that stress or stuff that's keeping me up. I'm just giving hypothetical, but like you need sleep in order to kind of catch up. Like, where's a place to start to have more sleep, better sleep, so that we can improve upon those health problems and you know.
That's exactly what we're going to talk about.
All right, I'm here.
Really quick before we get to that, I do want to quantify a question that has been coming up a lot, which is sleep challenges, right? And like people will say to me, oh, I think I have insomnia, right? So let's just discuss insomnia for a second.
Some sleep flashcards. I feel like we got to go through the basic terms before we even attack the solutions here.
The only one that I really want to, right? Like, as we were just saying before, there's all these things that impact our sleep, which is, to your point, why we maybe want to look at some of the heavy hitters where we can make a small tweak for a big impact, right? Recognizing that a lot of people are trying to then biohack their sleep with a melatonin supplement, right? So we're going to back up to some of those. But the question that people ask or say is that I have insomnia. And so I want to just clarify, there actually isn't a specific number of hours of sleep that defines insomnia. So what qualifies as insomnia has three pieces: persistent sleep difficulty, adequate sleep opportunity, and associated daytime dysfunction. And when we start to look at it from that lens, I think people are going to be like, wait a minute, I think I might actually have insomnia.
If you need a biohack for daytime dysfunction, you could totally call me, by the way, because I can, give you an express path to that.
What's your biohack for daytime dysfunction? Coffee?
I mean, just overdoing it, possibly sometimes being overcaffeinated, saying yes to too many things.
We overeat higher glycemic foods as a function of that too. And that's very chemical in the body, that those are the things that we crave.
Right. I'm just going to throw in the dysfunction piece is real, because I've had in the last couple of years, there was moments where I was forgetting stuff, very recent, very like short-term memory pieces that was a little bit scary. And really, it all came back to sleep. It wasn't memory, it was attention, because I was so exhausted. I couldn't even focus on what I was doing in the moment. So I was doing things that I wasn't even aware of, which then directly has you feeling like, oh shit, like there's something wrong with me. My memory's gone, but like it's all sleep.
Exactly.
Because you can't, there's a point in which, again, like the coffee can't solve that attention, and you don't have memory without attention, right?
Right. And that's the point of all of these things that we're like, oh, my memory is going. Well, maybe not. Maybe we just need to sleep.
Right.
I can't remember what I had. Did that happen yesterday? I can't remember why I walked in this room. I can't remember, right? Or I'm getting sick all the time. Or I'm gaining weight and I can't explain it. My hormones are out of whack. right? All of these things connect to what happens when we sleep. That if we aren't getting that repair, it stands to reason we're going to have a whole host of, I'll say, malfunction, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah.
And the interesting thing about it is that we are the only species that deprives themselves of sleep for no good reason. Really?
Right.
We think it's a good reason, right? It's become like lack of sleep is like the new almost social status of times, right? Like I had less sleep. No, I had less sleep.
Well, there is a point when you can get away with it and you might function really well.
Right. But we think we're functioning
that's
okay.
totally right. But that changes because what you could deal with in earlier years, you're not going to be able to pull off. And the multitasking you think you could do at a younger age is just gone at a later point. And that focus, at an older age requires that so much more repair than maybe you needed. Than at least speaking for myself.
Well, but there's sort of this like threading the needle because also we think about how much do teenagers sleep, right? Because growth happens when we sleep. They have this repair and growth. So they need a lot of sleep when they're growing and young, right? And then we sort of wean ourselves off. We think we're invincible for a while. And then we realize also a little later, like, okay, that's not working anymore. Right? And we try to then add all these other things to biohack our way into the function rather than addressing this underlying piece.
Yeah. And we're just stacking the day really poorly.
Yeah.
And we might be, in addition to all that, just kind of not optimizing the day, which just has you cramming as much as possible when you really should be winding down and listening to those signals.
100%. So as we move into some of the tools that we can use and things that we can do to support sleep and quality sleep, consider if you have what's called sleep onset insomnia, which is the having trouble getting to sleep. Sleep maintenance insomnia happens when you have trouble staying asleep or we wake up too early. Mixed insomnia is having trouble with both things, falling asleep and staying asleep.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so ponder that while we take a quick break to highlight our partner for this episode, and then we're going to come back to talk about a lot of the stuff that we can do to support our sleep.
I'll try to stay awake while you're gone.
Right. All right, friends, if you are a fan of Salad with a Side of Fries podcast and looking for how you can support us, we've got you covered with our awesome merchandise. So our seasonal items are available for you as well, plus the best sellers from summer and spring. So today we're talking about sleep. So maybe it's time for a new tank or a t-shirt to wear to bed. We have a muscle tee that says you can't outrun your fork. We also have one that says, hashtag team salad or hashtag team fries. And since movement in the day helps us sleep better, we also have fitness gear like a gym towel. You can also choose team salad or team fries on that one. Sweatshirts, a quarter zip, a cropped hooded sweatshirt, the motivational water bottle, all the things. We even have stuff for the kitchen, so many fun things. And then, of course, you can tell us if you are hashtag team salad or hashtag team fries. So just head over to our website, asaladwithasideoffries.com/merch and browse the full collection. Snag the official Salad with a Side of Fries mug, perfect for sipping a little chamomile tea before bed or while enjoying our latest episode. You could also go for the wine bag because balance, right? So take a piece of the podcast with you wherever you go. Maybe these are our best anchors to remind yourself of your commitment to your health. Simply text the word fries, FRIES, to 844-947-4846, and we'll send the link right to your phone. Check out all the Salad with a Side of Fries merch. Your purchase supports all the work we do here. The podcast shows your pride and maybe even sparks a conversation for you to pay it forward and inspire someone else to change their health too. So again, text the word fries, FRIES, to 844-947-4846. This is a toll-free number. Standard text and data rates may apply. Okay, so a piece of all of this sleep stuff is, as you were saying before, kind of setting up our day in ways that support quality sleep. Now, could you call these things hacks for the sleep? Yes. I would also recommend that we just call them healthful lifestyle choices, right? Like, if we can figure out how to build these things into our day to day, then we have a lifestyle of health and we can rely less on quote unquote hacks.
Yeah, I mean, like the hack is it feels like a replacement. It feels somewhat temporary, like an accelerator of sorts to get to that goal.
Right. So one of my favorite things to help us improve sleep happens not at night. Now, listen, you could go back to our episode, Sleep on It, where we talked all about everything that sleep does for the body and all about sleep hygiene and different things that you can do, right? But one of my favorite things that you can start to do immediately now is number one, wake up at the same time every day.
Okay.
Wake up at the same time every day. And when we wake up, we're going to get first morning light on our eyeballs. So look out the window. Don't stare at the sun, right? But look out the window and get some light into your eyes. We talked about this in our episode, Circa Your Circadian Rhythm, right? Mm-hmm. So our sleep and wake cycles are intimately connected to the body's clock, right? Now, every cell, every organ in the body has an individual clock. We got to get all the clocks working together. Light is the biggest driver of the clocks. So if we get that
sun
first morning
is your
light,
biohack, Jenn Trepeck. The sun.
Isn't that wild?
Crazy. It might have been the first biohack.
Maybe. So let's get some first morning light onto our eyeballs and wake up at the same time every day. It's not that wild, right?
Yeah, I mean, it's commitment. But how, right. Like, I guess, I don't know, with any of these, like, how do you just keep going with these so that it's not a day, a week, a month, 6 months, or leading up to that, one target resolution situation, and just wear it, own it?
This is such a great question because I think this is the difference between lifestyle and hack, right? I'm so glad you asked this. To me, it's starting with that one thing. Getting that one thing. If what you did right now is just wake up at the same time every day, other things are going to fall into place. And then once that's happening, we might say, okay, here's the next tweak that I want to make, right? Maybe the first thing is the wake time, and then the next thing is the light on your eyes.
Right.
And then maybe the thing after that is not having coffee or caffeine before food, making sure that we're having it with food or after food. And we can start to build little things that snowball into quality sleep at the end of the day.
Okay.
And to your point, the difference between health and constantly feeling like we're, trying to keep up on the treadmill is the consistency, is getting this into the routine before we go on to the next thing. And making sure, I think sometimes too, what's appealing about the hacks is that they feel super dramatic. And these little lifestyle tweaks are not so dramatic.
Right.
But often it's those little things. Yeah, but it's those little things that actually get us to the truly dramatic impact, more so than the dramatic thing that happens occasionally.
Right. If you tell me just sleep more, I'm like, okay, great. That's awesome. I'll try. Yeah. But yes, having a direct path that is not insurmountable, that is practical and, I could actually pull off on the path of getting there, that I feel like that's something I could adapt a lot easier than just like, hey, sleep more, get up, whatever.
Right.
I think we all need that, that space in between, that immediate
and for a lot of
small step.
Right. And then for a lot of people, that immediate small step is often using a sleep tracker. So I want to talk about sleep trackers for a second, because I think a lot of times, while they can be helpful, you have an Oura Ring. I have the Apple Watch, and for a while I was using an app and wearing the watch when I slept. in order to track sleep. And then I got annoyed because then the battery wouldn't last all day because I was wearing it all night. I couldn't figure out when to charge it, but that's like a me problem. I get that.
Right. I'm not getting credit for these steps during the day because I'm charging or whatever it is. Yeah.
Right. Mm-hmm. That's my OCD of like
multiple trackers.
You know, yeah. But I think it's making sense of that information, right? And being able to translate the information that it's giving us into something that we can do. So one of the things is to recognize is that sleep cycles have like 4 stages. A sleep cycle is typically about 90 minutes. So each 90 minutes, you're going through all 4 stages. So let's also manage expectations. The idea that we're going to get 8 hours of deep sleep is not actually the goal, right? Because different things happen at different parts of that sleep cycle. We need all of the things. This is where like the body's biology is just so smart and it does it on its own. And sometimes our best bet is to get out of the way, right? Let it do its thing and get out of the way. So typically it's the 13 to 23% that is like that deep sleep, right? So you look like you're going to ask a question.
No, I'm trying to understand just the segments here, but I'm with you.
So light sleep is like 50% of a sleep cycle. And I'm also like giving you very
the norms,
average generic percentage, right? Like, and approximate, right?
Right.
Then you're going to have, like we said, like that 13 to 23% deep sleep. The rest is REM, right? That vivid dreaming. And by the way, like there's 2 different kinds of light sleep. So maybe that's even more than 50%. That could even be like 60%.
Is this going to be on the quiz?
And then I know. Like I said, I'm giving you very approximate numbers. So bottom line is we have all of these stages, the non-REM and the REM, right? And over the course of a night, we might go through this, depending on how many hours we're asleep, we might go through this 4 to 6 times. So we want to sort of have these cycles. So when you're looking at your app, look to see how much time you're spending in each part of the cycle, rather than trying to take things that are going to get you a ton of time in this deep sleep and not adequate time in the REM sleep. You know what I mean?
If REM is the most important, what are those things we're doing?
They're all important. That's the thing.
So what are we doing during the day that is most disruptive to that cycle or just that consistency? Like what are the biggest red flags? Obviously caffeine and I don't know what else is out there, but how many different ways are we screwing this up?
Caffeine, alcohol, stress, constant input, lack of nutrition, lack of activity. All of that comes back to the fundamentals of quality in, quality out, get up and move more. Protein and fiber at every meal makes removing fat no big deal. These are also the formulas for quality sleep.
That's intense. Yeah. And seems so simple, but it's just not, it's not in any way, shape, or form for people.
Right.
Because you're compromising something at some point and it's just life. Like we're all not in this state of constant balance and repair or even approaching it as much as we should be because we don't make it a priority. Right.
We prioritize all these other things.
Or the hacks.
And that's what I was just going to say. I think we think that the hacks are the way to health.
Yeah.
Versus,
I can't possibly go to sleep at midnight. Like how do I just function like that? What can I do to XYZ without doing the work, essentially?
And by the way, there's some research that also says like the hours from like 11 p.m. to 2 or 3 a.m. are some of the most important hours. So getting to sleep before 11, according to some research, is really important.
It's also when you eat, right? I mean, like how close to going to sleep are you eating? Because that can totally affect that.
So the guideline is to finish food about 2 to 3 hours before bed.
All foods, like no snacks, no nothing, just all of the eating done 2 hours out.
Yeah, now, nothing is 100%,
Sure.
right? I have some diabetic clients who actually do really well managing their
Right.
blood sugar with a handful of nuts before bed, right? With everything, I always say guidelines, not gospel. There's a lot of
Yeah.
room in this to figure out when you feel your best
Right.
versus what the rules tell us.
Yeah, definitely.
You know, I want to go back to something though on those sleep cycles before we move on and I forget.
Mhm.
If you're under 30, you might get
Nope.
like 2 hours of deep sleep a night. If you're over 65, you might get a half hour of deep sleep each night. You might not have much deep sleep at all. It's okay. There isn't necessarily like a requirement, but that deep sleep that promotes growth and development is more important for the younger people, which is why they spend more time, right? Their sleep cycle looks different than somebody who's, 65 plus. And it's the balance between them that shifts. But we all need all the stages. I think a great thing is to think about your own best sleep cocktail. Have you seen this? It's become like a trend on TikTok for sure, but all these things of like the sleepy girl cocktail.
Not yet. No.
But we're on different sides of TikTok, clearly.
Yeah.
But
I guess. I don't know. I'm not there. I'm everywhere else, but I don't know. I can't handle any more platforms right now. There's
Yeah.
too much. There's too much input.
But
too much coming in. Too much information.
Exactly. Too much input. So recognize what's your best sleep cocktail. Does it mean turning off the screens and reading from a paper book for 30 minutes before you get in bed? Does it mean turning the alerts off at a certain time?
Yeah. I mean, for me, I'm now trying to keep the phone nowhere near me within like an hour, half hour from going to sleep, because I know like I will impulsively keep looking at things, even things that are positive and interesting or educational or whatever, entertaining. But I can feel the moment I shut that off and try to instantly go to sleep, it's just noise. There's just too much noise from the overstimulus, the overabundance of information, the pace of the information, and also just that how quickly you pivot in between concepts and categories. And it's just, I don't even, above and beyond like the quantity and the amount of time that, we can spend on our devices, is also just that interval, that switch. Like, I don't feel like we were made to switch topics, gears, emotions,
right?
All of that. So it's just to instantly shut that off and go to sleep is definitely a challenge I'm going to throw out there.
Right. So that brings us back to now I can't think of the word, it's escaping me, right? But the insomnia where we have trouble falling asleep first.
Yeah.
So that's where we might want to look at, how do we clear our mind? What is our wind down routine? Maybe it's getting a piece of paper, sort of mind dumping. Maybe it's a meditation to sort of clear some of that stuff before we lay down. Or when we lay down, doing a meditation, using some of those apps. Yeah.
But if I'm all over the phone and then I need to do a meditation, and then that becomes the hack at that point for, the digital detox. So, but if I can like back up a step, to use your other example earlier, and just remove the phone from the equation, then I need less of a wind down transition in general.
Yeah.
Unless like it's not an option. I mean, some people have to be wired in professionally or in other ways up until the time they shut down and go to sleep.
Exactly. And I think it's also a progression. Like, number one, it's not the same answer for everybody. And number two, day to day, things look different, and that's okay. Right? So we might, on our way to being able to leave the phone in the other room, if, life allows for that, then the meditation might be the step in the middle. Right? Like, we don't have to flip the coin and go from one extreme to another. And I think expecting that makes us then feel like when it doesn't work, we're failing, and then pushes us into the biohacks that are, having us step over $100 bills.
Yeah, the quick fix.
Right. So I think you're exactly right. It's figuring out, what does that look like for me to be able to wind down, right? Maybe it is the cold shower or the hot shower, right? Hot shower actually draws the blood to the surface and then lowers the core body temperature, which is helpful for sleep, lowering the core body temperature. So making sure your room is cool, making sure the room is dark. Little things.
Yeah, I mean, I think, and also to your other point, like it does start with the sun, because if you're trying to just create and set up yourself for that environment at night, having just blown through the day in terms of your schedule, your nutrition, your over programming, your input, and, energy level, one way or another, like you're kind of screwed regardless of what that transitional space is towards the end of the day. Like, it can't all be there, right? It can't all be repaired an hour before bed, having not backed up to that sunrise point. And I mean, it's not, it's not a quick leap, but.
Right. Well, so to your point, yes, there are other things to do throughout the day to support our bedtime too, right? Getting our activity in a day is tremendous for helping us sleep. Now, for some people, they can get their activity in, but if that activity is too close to bed, it makes sleep harder. So we want to remember that there's nuance in all of this and individualization or personalization to take into account, and playing with what some of those routines are.
Right.
Figuring out when you feel your best.
But that
and
takes
maybe
time,
to your point,
and it's not a hack.
Oh, go ahead. Yeah.
So I want a hack for that.
Well, that's the point. The hack is the sleep. I promise you, if you start waking up at the same time every day, a lot of things are going to fall into place. But the hack to health is quality sleep, right? And enough of it, right? Quantity and quality sleep. Nutrition, which we talk about all the time, protein, fiber, quality food, and movement, right? The fundamentals for health are the fundamentals for sleep. Sleep is one of the fundamentals of health, so that just sort of got a little circular. But if we don't have those pieces in place, and I'm highlighting sleep because I think it's the one people focus on the least.
Definitely.
Then we can add a couple of these potential biohacks and see true tremendous results. But if we are always focusing on the biohack rather than the fundamentals and making sure that we're sleeping, we will always be one step forward, two steps back.
Yeah, I mean, I think those hacks then, if I'm understanding this, and kind of the way I look at it is like, they might push you over the edge or be that like icing, that sort of final kick or initial kick, but it ain't enough on its own, or they aren't enough on their own. You cannot
biohack your way. Exactly. We cannot biohack our way toward not needing sleep.
Okay.
Just like you can't supplement your way out of poor nutrition, right?
Yeah.
Final thought, anything to wrap it up from you? Maybe that was it, but.
I mean, I got work to do. I mean, I think, balance and repair were a couple words that I wrote down, because, I don't think they can exist without both coexisting. And I think allowing for that repair and acknowledging that you need it is super helpful to think about. And it's a good reminder. I mean, these are concepts that we all know. Everything we talked about are things that we've all been told, but it's finding out how to make it work for us in a way that is sustainable. You're not going to necessarily go to the gym every day just because you have a membership, but and the expectation of executing everything we talked about every day is just going to set you up for failure and hating on yourself afterwards. Just speaking for me personally. It's a journey.
It's a journey. Final thought from me, I think, is just health happens with sleep. And our biohacks are a lot of wasted effort if we do not have the fundamentals in place. Your biohacks are a thimble of water on your house fire. And when we're tempted to go toward the shiny object and the biohack from the guru, pause and recognize that what we really need is consistency in the fundamentals and probably a little bit more sleep. And we're all going to be just fine. All right.
New biohack for you.
Right.
New biohack
What is it?
It's the mantra from Jenn Trepeck about health and sleep. What was that line you just said?
It's a good thing we can all rewind. I think I said health happens with sleep or with quality sleep. Yeah.
Well, if I just repeat that 100 times, that's my hack.
Right. If only. I don't know that that would work, but I do know that if you set your alarm and you wake up at the same time every morning, the nighttime will fall into place.
I'm on it.
All right, one last hack because I can't contain myself and I know you want it. Sleep cycles are 90 minutes. We will be more tired if we wake up in the middle of a sleep cycle. So if you are in those situations where you're like, this is one of those nights, set your alarm to ensure, give yourself maybe a little bit of time to fall asleep and then set your alarm where it's maybe 6 hours, right? So you're getting 4 90-minute cycles. Or maybe you're better off at 4.5 hours of sleep than 5.5 hours of sleep if it means you're not waking up in the middle of a cycle.
I'm going to need an assistant pretty soon, but I hear you.
Okay. Nutrition nugget time. You ready?
Ready.
All right. On Friday, we're talking about freekeh. Have you ever heard of it?
I have not.
In all of our food adventures? So it's a grain. And while this is a grain derived from durum wheat, so it has some benefits compared to other grains. So back in 2017, there was an article published guessing that freekeh might be the next trendy super grain. Now, doesn't seem like that happened, right? But I think it's worth looking at. So maybe we're going to make it the next trendy thing now. So Friday, we're going to talk about freekeh. Make sure wherever you're listening now, click the plus sign in the app or the follow button, and then your app will alert you when the Nutrition Nugget is live on Friday morning. Well, as always, everybody, I'm your host, Jenn Trepeck. Connect with me on Instagram or all social media. I'm at Jenn Trepeck, JENNTREPECK. Website is asaladwithasideofries.com. Website is where you will find the merch. And pick your platform, send a message. I want to hear from you. It's what are your ideas? What takeaways did you have? What questions do you have? This is also the easiest way to learn more about working with me as your health coach. Abe, thank you again for joining me.
Pleasure. Thanks for having me on.
Absolutely. Welcome officially to Salad with a Side of Fries.
Oh my God, this is major. This is epic.
Major. And of course, everybody, if you are not already, join our membership program by going to glow.fm/salad with a side of fries to show your support for this podcast, this community, and most importantly, support your health. You'll get this week's recipe for the maple blueberry turkey sausage breakfast patties, 10% off sleep support products, and your quarterly live Q&A, which is a one-on-one just you and me. So until next week, sure, biohacks can be great and fun. And we could save ourselves a lot of time, energy, and even money if we focus on the ultimate biohack, sleep. Well, friends, that's it for today's episode of Salad with a Side of Fries. Congratulations for making yourself and your health a priority. Thanks so much for joining us. Be sure to click subscribe or follow on your favorite podcast platform. Share us with a friend, and we'll be back next week. Always remember, you deserve it, and you are worth it. Happy healthy.